You close the front door behind you, drop your keys on the table, and the silence of your home wraps around you. But your mind is not silent. Instantly, the audit begins. You replay the conversation you had an hour ago, dissecting the tone of your voice, the way you laughed, the brief pause before you answered a question. Did I talk too much? Did I sound stupid? Did I offend them when I made that joke? You search the memory of their faces for any subtle sign of irritation or boredom. The warmth of the social gathering is immediately replaced by a cold, heavy layer of shame. You are exhausted from the effort of being human, and yet you cannot turn off the internal prosecutor that is convinced you did something wrong. If this is familiar, if you recognize the agonizing post-social audit or any of the quiet, automatic habits that dictate your daily life, what you are experiencing is not a personality defect or a lack of self-confidence. It is the biological footprint of your childhood. According to Dr. Gabor Maté's research on developmental trauma and attachment, our early environments do not just leave us with memories. They shape the physical and psychological architecture of our adult lives. Many of the behaviors we carry into our jobs, our relationships, and our quietest moments are actually highly specialized survival strategies. They are the invisible adaptations our nervous systems created when we were too young to choose another way. Until we learn to recognize these super-specific, often overlooked signs of early stress, we will continue to blame ourselves for our struggles. We will look at our habits and think we are fundamentally flawed, failing to see that our behavior is actually the brilliant, protective response of a body that is still trying to keep us safe. For decades, we have been taught to view childhood trauma as only the most extreme, visible events, abuse, neglect, or catastrophic loss. But from a trauma-informed perspective, trauma is also what did not happen that should have happened. It is the subtle daily experiences of not being seen, of having to suppress your emotions to keep your parents happy, or of growing up in an environment where your emotional safety was conditional on your performance. According to Dr. Gabor Maté, a child faces a continuous, subconscious conflict between two essential needs: attachment and authenticity. Attachment is connection. It is survival. Authenticity is selfhood. It is our ability to feel our feelings and express our true boundaries. When a child's natural authenticity threatens their attachment to their caregivers, when showing anger, sadness, or vulnerability results in withdrawal of love or emotional volatility, the child must choose survival. The child suppresses their authentic self to preserve the attachment. The tragedy is that this choice is not conscious. Your young nervous system wired this self-suppression directly into your body's operating system. And those survival strategies do not disappear when you grow up. They follow you across a lifetime, manifesting in 12 super-specific ways that you might never have associated with your childhood. The first sign is the immediate, automatic audit of every social interaction the moment it ends. You don't just leave a party or a meeting, you mentally dissect it. You analyze your words, your body language, and other people's micro-expressions. You are looking for proof that you failed, that you were too much, or that you made someone uncomfortable. According to Gabor Maté's work, this habit is a form of hypervigilance. As a child, if you had to read the emotional climate of your home to keep yourself safe, if a parent's mood could change instantly, or if their love was conditional on you being perfect, your survival depended on your attunement to their emotions. You learned to constantly monitor your behavior to make sure you didn't trigger their disappointment. As an adult, this protective scanner is still running. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind learned to protect you. That social audit, that is not overthinking. That is intelligence in service of survival, trying to ensure that you are never caught off guard by rejection. The second sign is a deep physical discomfort with receiving compliments, gifts, or unconditional kindness. When someone praises your work or gives you a thoughtful gift, Your body doesn't relax into gratitude. Instead, you feel a sudden, cold contraction in your chest. You immediately deflect the compliment, point out your flaws, or feel an urgent, anxious need to return the favor. You feel as though you have run up a debt that you must pay off immediately. From a trauma-informed perspective, this is the hallmark of conditional love. If you grew up in a home where you had to earn attention through your achievements, your helpfulness, or your good behavior, your nervous system wired love to transaction. You learned that nothing is free, and that kindness always comes with a hidden cost or an expectation. So when someone offers you unconditional warmth now, your body treats it as a trap. Not because something was wrong with you, because something was wrong with what happened to you, and your body learned that care is never safe unless it is earned. And this leads directly to the next sign, which is the physical shape of your daily survival. The third sign is chronic somatic tension that you only notice when you are forced to consciously relax. You live your life believing you are relaxed, but the moment you lie down to sleep or sit in a quiet room, you realize your jaws clench so tightly your teeth ache. Your shoulders are raised toward your ears, your belly is held in, and your breath is shallow. When you consciously tell your body to let go, you feel a brief moment of release, only to find yourself wound tight again 5 minutes later. The body remembers what the mind was forced to forget. This physical bracing is the posture of a child who is waiting for the other shoe to drop. If you grew up walking on eggshells, your nervous system never learned the biological baseline of true rest. It kept your muscles primed for fight or flight because safety was never guaranteed. That constant physical tension is not stress from your modern job. That is your childhood armor, still worn by a body that doesn't yet know the storm has passed. But here is where the survival strategies of childhood become even more invisible. The fourth sign is an intense, manic urgency to finish tasks the very second they are given to you. If you have an email to answer, a dish to wash, or a chore to complete, you cannot rest until it is done. If you try to relax while something is left incomplete, you feel a gnawing, vibrating anxiety in your chest. You live in a constant state of rushing, treating minor daily tasks as emergency situations that must be resolved immediately. Psychologists have observed that this urgency is often a survival reflex. In a stressful childhood home, an unfinished chore or an unmet expectation was not just a detail. It was a trigger for conflict, criticism, or the loss of love. You learned that staying ahead of the problem was the only way to avoid the blow. Your rushing is not productivity, it is panic. This is not a character flaw. That is intelligence in service of survival, trying to keep you safe by making sure you can never be accused of being lazy or irresponsible. The fifth sign is what Gabor Maté calls the let-down sickness. You work tirelessly for months, pushing through stress and exhaustion. But the moment you finally take a vacation, stop for a holiday, or try to rest, your body immediately collapses. You get a migraine, a cold, an autoimmune flare-up, or a sudden wave of intense, heavy fatigue. You spend your hard-earned days off sick in bed, frustrated that your body is failing you when you finally have time to enjoy your life. From a trauma-informed perspective, your body is not failing. It is finally safe enough to collapse. When you are in survival mode, your adrenal glands pump stress hormones through your system to keep you functioning despite your exhaustion. Your body overrides its pain signals because stopping would be dangerous. But the moment you step into a safe environment, the adrenaline mask slips. Your immune system, which has been suppressed by chronic cortisol, finally lets go, and the accumulated physical cost of your stress is revealed. Your vacation sickness is the physical truth of how depleted you actually are when you stop running from your past. And this is where the survival strategy turns into a conversational reflex. The sixth sign is the constant automatic apology for simply existing. You say sorry when someone bumps into you. You say sorry when you ask a waiter for water. You say sorry before asking a question in a meeting or when you take more than a second to reply to a text. You use apologies not as a confession of guilt, but as a conversational shield, trying to soften your presence before anyone can find fault with you. According to Dr. Gabor Maté, this reflex is born in environments where a child's natural presence, needs, or emotions were treated as an inconvenience or an annoyance. You learned that taking up space, having a voice, or having needs was a threat to your connection with your caregivers. So you learn to apologize for your own existence, trying to make yourself as small and convenient as possible. That sorry is not politeness. That is a plea for safety. But as you carry these patterns into adulthood, you will find yourself drawn to environments that match your early training. The seventh sign is a high tolerance for emotional chaos, coupled with an intense discomfort with quiet, stable situations. When your relationships are turbulent, unpredictable, or emotionally distant, you feel a strange, obsessive energy that you mistake for passion. But when you are in a quiet, stable relationship with someone who is consistent and safe, you feel bored, restless, or anxious. You find yourself picking fights, looking for flaws, or wondering if you should leave. Gabor Maté's work consistently shows that the nervous system seeks what is familiar, even if what is familiar is painful. If your childhood was chaotic, your body calibrated itself to high levels of stress hormones. Quiet and stability do not feel like peace to a traumatized system. They feel like the eerie silence before a storm. Your brain translates the calm as danger, and so it tries to manufacture chaos to return to the high-alert baseline it knows how to navigate. Your attraction to toxic dynamics is not a sign of poor judgment. It is your biology seeking the only environment it was trained to survive. And to protect those chaotic connections, you will use another childhood tool. The eighth sign is the exhaustive defense, the habit of over-explaining your boundaries or minor decisions. If you have to decline an invitation, ask for a day off, or make a minor mistake, you do not just state your decision. You write 10-paragraph text messages. You provide endless context, excuses, and medical or personal details, desperately trying to prove that you have a valid reason for your boundary. You are terrified that if they do not understand your context, they will think you are a bad person and reject you. From a trauma-informed perspective, over-explaining is an adult survival response to early invalidation. If, as a child, your feelings, needs, or simple no were met with interrogation, anger, or gaslighting, you learned that your boundaries were not valid on their own. You had to build an airtight case just to be allowed to protect yourself. That over-explanation, that is not thoroughness. That is the voice of a defensive child who is still trying to survive an interrogation. But when the effort of defending yourself becomes too much, your system will choose the opposite path. The ninth sign is the sudden ghosting reflex when you feel overwhelmed. When your life gets slightly chaotic, or when a relationship asks for more emotional intimacy than you feel capable of giving, you do not talk about it. You do not explain your boundaries. Instead, you shut down completely. You stop replying to texts, you withdraw into isolation, and you disappear from people's lives. You tell yourself that you just need space, or that they are better off without you. According to trauma-informed psychology, this is the freeze or shutdown response of your nervous system. When a child is overwhelmed by stress and cannot run away or fight back, their only defense is to tune out, go numb, and withdraw into themselves. As an adult, when stress levels cross your threshold of tolerance, your brain goes offline and your primitive survival systems take over. You retreat into the cave of your own isolation because your system still believes that connection is the source of your overwhelm. Not because you are cruel or uncaring, because your system has reached its biological limit and disappearing is the only way it knows how to keep you from collapsing. And because you spent so much time tuning out your own system, you will find that you have lost your own internal compass. The 10th sign is chronic agonizing indecision over minor daily choices. You cannot decide what to eat for dinner, what shirt to buy, or how to phrase a simple email without polling 3 friends or spending hours weighing the options. You feel a deep, paralyzing fear of making the wrong choice, as if a minor mistake will result in a catastrophic failure. According to Dr. Maté's framework, this indecision is the direct result of having your authentic instincts suppressed in childhood. If you had to prioritize your caregiver's preferences, moods, and opinions over your own to maintain attachment, you learned to ignore the quiet signals of your own gut. You learned that your instincts were dangerous and wrong. As an adult, you're left with a quiet mind, but no inner compass. This doesn't mean you're broken. It means your mind learned to protect you by muting your desires when having them was unsafe. Your indecision is the physical manifestation of a nervous system that has been trained to trust everyone else's voice but its own. And to hide this deep lack of self-trust, you will wear a mask of immense capability. The 11th sign is taking intense defensive pride in being completely low maintenance. You boast that you need nothing, ask for nothing, and can handle any crisis without crying or complaining. You are the friend who is always there for others, but you never reveal your own struggles. You treat your own needs as inconveniences and pride yourself on being the easiest person in the room. But from a trauma-informed perspective, being low maintenance is often the quiet surrender of your authentic self. Many people discover that they became low maintenance because as children, their caregivers were too busy, too sick, too angry, or too overwhelmed to hold space for them. You realized that having needs made you a burden, and being a burden threatened your attachment. So you made yourself invisible. That pride you feel in needing nothing, that is not independence. That is hyper-independence born of early neglect. It is your childhood survival system, still running in the background, trying to make sure you never take up enough space to be rejected. And now we come to the 12th and deepest sign of all, the one most people refuse to see in themselves because we have been trained to treat it as a moral virtue. The 12th sign is that you reject your own pain to protect the people who hurt you. When you speak about your childhood or the difficult dynamics in your past, you immediately minimize your own suffering. You say, "It wasn't that bad, others had it worse," or "My parents did the best they could." You feel a deep, protective empathy for the people who hurt, neglected, or dismissed you, while feeling absolutely no empathy, sorrow, or anger on behalf of your own child self. You would rather carry the guilt of being bad than face the painful truth of how you were treated. According to Dr. Gabor Maté, this is the ultimate, most devastating adaptation of childhood trauma. To a child, admitting that their parents are unsafe, overwhelmed, or unloving is an existential terror. If the parents are flawed, the child's entire survival is in jeopardy. So, to preserve the connection, the child's mind makes a desperate, brilliant compromise. My parents are good. I am bad. My pain is my own fault. You internalize their neglect, their criticism, and their volatility as your own unworthiness. Now, as an adult, you are still running that old contract. You are still protecting them at the expense of yourself. That is not forgiveness. That is self-abandonment in service of survival. You are still sacrificing your authenticity to preserve an attachment that has long since passed. But you do not have to carry this weight anymore. You are not broken. You are not defective, weak, or lazy. You adapted. You survived an environment that asked you to choose between belonging and being yourself, and your young body made the only choice it could to keep you alive. Your social anxiety, your physical tension, your urgency, your low-maintenance pride, and your self-rejection are not proofs of your inadequacy. They are the living evidence of your resilience. According to Dr. Maté, healing does not begin with self-improvement or trying to fix these 12 signs. It begins with self-compassion. It begins with shifting from "what is wrong with me" to "what was this pattern trying to protect me from?" When you stop fighting your adaptations and start understanding them, the internal war softens. You stop trying to hate yourself into a new shape. You realize that you cannot heal a wound by attacking the armor that protected it. Instead, you look at your hypervigilance, your apologies, and your exhaustion, and you tell them, "You did your job, you kept me safe, but I'm an adult now, and I can protect myself in new, softer ways." And from that safe place, change becomes possible, not in a single dramatic transformation, but in the tiny, quiet choices of your daily life. It is the moment you get into your car after a party, feel the urge to start the audit, and instead, put your hand on your chest, take a deep breath, and say, "I am safe, and I am allowed to just be." It is the moment you feel the somatic panic of saying no, and you say it anyway, letting the guilt wash over you without letting it change your mind. It is the moment you feel sick on vacation, and instead of being angry with your body, you wrap yourself in a blanket and thank your physical system for finally letting you rest. Each small choice is a message of safety to your cells. You are teaching your nervous system that the battlefield is behind you. You are showing your body that connection and truth do not have to be enemies anymore. The same body that learned how to survive can learn how to live. You are not fighting your nature, you are coming back to it. Which of these 12 signs felt like it was reading your mind today? If conversations like this feel valuable to you, consider subscribing. This channel is a dedicated space for those who are ready to stop managing their survival and start honoring the deep biological truth of their healing. Self-understanding will not rewrite your past, but it will change how your past lives inside your body today. And that is where your freedom begins. The hardest part of healing is realizing that the habits you hate most about yourself are the very ones that kept you alive when you had no one else to protect you. If you saw yourself in these signs, which one is currently running your life, and what is one gentle way you can offer your body safety today? Signs of childhood trauma. How trauma shapes you not broken, just adapted. Why do we carry habits that feel like self-sabotage, yet we can't seem to stop them? In this deeply compassionate premium documentary script inspired by the clinical philosophy of Dr. Gabor Maté, we explore how childhood trauma and early stress shape adult behavior. Discover the silent biological conflict between attachment and authenticity, and how children are forced to suppress their true selves to survive. We break down 12 super-specific, often overlooked signs that childhood trauma affected you, including the post-social mind audit, the inability to receive compliments, chronic physical tension, manic task urgency, vacation sickness, and the habit of rejecting your own pain to protect those who hurt you. Learn to stop fighting your symptoms and start understanding them as intelligent nervous system adaptations, paving a gentle path towards somatic safety, recovery, and genuine self-compassion.